Hello everyone. Welcome to this channel. This video is about the history of Toronto. Today, we'll be exploring the rich and diverse past of one of Canada's most vibrant cities. From its early Indigenous roots to its rise as a major metropolitan centre, Toronto's history is full of fascinating stories and significant milestones. Let's dive in and uncover the journey that has shaped this incredible city. The site of Toronto lay at the entrance to one of the oldest routes to the northwest, a route known and used by the Huron, Iroquois, and Ojibwe. Archaeological sites show evidence of human occupation dating back thousands of years. The site was of strategic importance from the beginning of Ontario's recorded history. In the 1660s, the Iroquois established two villages within what is today Toronto, Ganatsequayagon, Bead Hill, on the banks of the Rouge River, and Tayagan on the banks of the Humber River. By 1701, the Mississaugas had displaced the Iroquois, who abandoned the Toronto area at the end of the Beaver Wars, with most returning to their homeland in present-day New York State. French traders founded Fort Rueil in 1750. The current exhibition grounds were later developed there, but abandoned it in 1759 during the 7 Years' War. The British defeated the French and their indigenous allies in the war, and the area became part of the British colony of Quebec in 1763. During the American Revolutionary War, an influx of British settlers arrived there as United Empire Loyalists fled for the British-controlled lands north of Lake Ontario. The Crown granted them land to compensate for their losses in the 13 colonies. The new province of Upper Canada was being created and needed a capital. In 1787, the British Lord Dorchester arranged for the Toronto Purchase with the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation, thereby securing more than 250,000 acres, 1,000 kilometres (2) of land in the Toronto area. Dorchester intended the location to be named Toronto. The first 25 years after the Toronto Purchase were quiet, although there were occasional independent fur traders present in the area, with the usual complaints of debauchery and drunkenness. In 1793, Governor John Graves Simcoe established the town of York on the Toronto Purchase lands, naming it after Prince Frederick, Duke of York and Albany. Simcoe decided to move the Upper Canada capital from Newark, Niagara-on-the-Lake, to York, believing the new site would be less vulnerable to attack by the United States. The York garrison was built at the entrance of the town's natural harbour, sheltered by a long sandbar peninsula. The town's settlement formed at the harbour's eastern end behind the peninsula, near the present-day intersection of Parliament Street and Front Street, in the Old Town area. In 1813, as part of the War of 1812, the Battle of York ended in the town's capture and plunder by United States forces. John Strachan negotiated the town's surrender. American soldiers destroyed much of the garrison and set fire to the Parliament buildings during their 5-day occupation. Because of the sacking of York, British troops retaliated later in the war with the burning of Washington, D.C. York was incorporated as the City of Toronto on March 6, 1834, adopting the Indigenous name. Reformist politician William Leon Mackenzie became the first mayor of Toronto. Mackenzie would later lead the unsuccessful Upper Canada Rebellion of 1837 against the British colonial government. By 1834, refugee slaves from America's South were also immigrating to Toronto to gain freedom. Slavery was banned outright in Upper Canada, and throughout the British Empire. In 1834, Torontonians integrated people of colour into their society. In the 1840s, an eating house at Frederick and King Streets, a place of mercantile prosperity in the early city, was operated by a black man named Bloxham. As a major destination for immigrants to Canada, the city grew rapidly through the remainder of the 19th century. The first significant wave of immigrants were Irish, fleeing the Great Irish Famine. Most of them were Catholic. By 1851, the Irish-born population had become the largest single ethnic group in the city. For brief periods, Toronto was twice the capital of the United Province of Canada, first from 1849 to 1851, following unrest in Montreal, and later from 1855 to 1859. After this date, Quebec was designated as the capital until 1865, 2 years before Canadian Confederation. Since then, the capital of Canada has remained Ottawa, Ontario. Toronto became the capital of the province of Ontario after its official creation in 1867. Because of its provincial capital status, the city was also the location of Government House, the residence of the vice-regal representative of the Crown in right of Ontario. Long before the Royal Military College of Canada was established in 1876, supporters of the concept proposed military colleges in Canada. Staffed by British regulars, adult male students underwent a 3-month-long military course at the School of Military Instruction in Toronto. In 1868, schools of cavalry and artillery instruction were formed in Toronto. The Grand Trunk Railway and the Northern Railway of Canada joined in the building of the first Union Station in downtown. These enabled Toronto to become a major gateway linking the world to the interior of the North American continent. Expanding port and rail facilities brought in northern timber for export and imported Pennsylvania coal. Industry dominated the waterfront for the next 100 years. During the late 19th century, Toronto became the largest alcohol distillation, in particular, spirits, center in North America. By the 1860s, the Gooderham and Warts distillery operations became the world's largest whiskey factory. A preserved section of this once dominant local industry remains in the distillery district. Horse-drawn streetcars gave way to electric streetcars in 1891 when the city granted the operation of the transit franchise to the Toronto Railway Company. The public transit system passed into public ownership in 1921 as the Toronto Transportation Commission, later renamed the Toronto Transit Commission. The system now has the third highest ridership of any city public transportation system in North America. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of Toronto. We hope you enjoyed learning about the key events and figures that have contributed to the city's development. If you found this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more insightful content. Until next time, take care and keep exploring the rich history around you.